Hi, this is Debbie with Book and Bujo, and welcome here. Today we're going to go over my 2022 reading stats. Let's see how I did. So for 2022, I read a total of 257 books. Wow. Okay, so I had 0 1-star books. I had 2 2-star books. It's already starting out pretty good, huh? 52 3-star books, 165 4-star books, and 39 5 stars with an average rating of 4.16. I'd say that was a pretty good reading year. I'm okay with that. See, I read 8% of my books were new adults, 30% young adult, and 53% adult. So I also had some children's and middle grade in there, but they were less than 8%, so that made up the rest. For book format, I had 7% novella, 6% graphic novels, 7% short stories, and 73% standard novels. For genres, so this was a fun one. So for genres, I have my cheat sheet here because there's a lot of them. So 9% classics, 40% fantasy, shocker. 5% horror, actually almost 6% horror. 4% historical fiction, 4.3% contemporary, 4% mystery, 8% nonfiction, 3.5% mythology, which is usually my second favorite. 3% paranormal, 4% romance, 8% sci-fi, 1% thriller, 1% short story, 1% dystopia, and then we get 0.4% each for poetry and magical realism. So basically I read one book for both of those. Sources, 52% were sourced from my library, either through a physical book or an audiobook. 17% were borrowed, either from friends or family, and 31% were previously owned books. So 257 books total. So I did reach my Goodreads reading goal, which was 256. Actually, I think it was 259, so I missed it by 2 books. Book type, so my reading method, 8% were physical books, which is, I don't own that many physical books. Most of the ones I own are all from when I was a child up through high school, is what most of my books are on my shelves. So 6% mixed media, so I read and listened at the same time. 47% audiobook and a 37% ebook. So fairly evenly distributed between audiobook and then either or physical book. So earbook or iBook. So total pages read this year, 87,565. I don't remember what it was last year, but that was pretty good. Total hours listened to audiobooks was 1,922.5. Alright, so book length, I'll have the percentages up here, but under 100 pages I read 42 books. Over 100 pages was 34 books. Over 200 pages was 35 books. Over 300 pages I read 51 books. Over 400 pages I read 45 books. Over 500 pages was 24 books. Over 600 pages was 11 books. Over 800 pages was 4 books. Over 900 pages, 3 books. And over 1,000 pages, I read 3 books. So off the top of my head, The Count of Monte Cristo and Anna Karenina were 2 of the ones that were over 1,000. I can't remember what the other one was off the top of my head, but it was probably another classic. All right, publication dates. This one was really fun. So I have read books from 1756 all the way up to 2022. From the 1700s, I read 2 books. From the 1800s, 15 books from the 1800s. From the early 1900s, so 1903 to 1906 was 3 books. From the 1920s was 2 books. 1950s, just 1. In the 1960s, 4 books. From the 1970s, 4 books as well. 2 books from the 80s, 10 books from the 1990s, And then from 2000 to 2009 was 17 books. So from 2000 to 2009, I read 17 books. 2010 to 2019, so 2010, 3 books, 2011, 9 books, 2012, 6 books, 2013, 13 books, which is kind of fun. 2014, read 15 books. So yeah, and on it goes. So basically I read 31, so the highest publication date year that I read from was 2021, so last year, was 31 books. And for 2022, there was 11 books. So that was really fun just to see the time span of the books that when they were written that I read. So that was really fun. I enjoyed seeing that. You can also see the graph of the number of authors or books per author that I read, which most of them are so small you can't even see them. But I did read the Throne of Glass series, so have a lot of Sarah J. Maas. I'm rereading the Shadowhunter series, so it's a lot of Cassandra Clare. And of course there's a plethora of Robin Hood books that I read in the Farseer trilogy, or the Elderling series, and so there's Robin Hood on there. Rick Riordan as well, because I've been reading through the Percy Jackson series. Just hit all of his works. I'm up to Magnus Chase. I have and Trials of Apollo, I think is what I have left in that series. And I've also been reading through the Rune series, which there's 11 books in that one, so a lot of Edna Walters on there too. The Witcher series, I read a few Neil Gaiman, a couple of Alexandre Dumas books, which are great. So that's like the Three Musketeers, but his books are great. If you want a classic that is really good, I would definitely recommend him. The series are standalones. So I read 61% of my books were series and 38% were standalones, which makes sense with all of the series that I was reading this past year. And I don't think that is going to change at all this next year, because I'm doing a lot of read-alongs. So I started 79 series this year. I read 72 sequels, and I completed 23 series. So that was kind of fun. Some of the ones where I started a series, or continued a series, some of those were like the holiday books I read, where it was the 4th book in the series, or it's the 1st book and I'm not necessarily going to read the whole series. I just wanted to read the holiday one. So some of those 79 I probably will not continue with, but a lot of them I will. Nationality, I read a lot of books by American authors, but I also read quite a few books by Polish authors, England, and from France. 17.5% of the books I read were by POC authors, and 79% not, and 2% unknown, because there was no picture and I didn't spend a lot of time researching it, but couldn't find anything on. So disability rep. I read 52 books where the disability rep was present in the book. 4% it was the main character. 33% it was absent, but a lot of those I read a lot of nonfiction, and it's not really applicable. If you're reading a book talking about trees, you're not necessarily going to have a disability rep in that one. I think I did fairly well with my disability rep stat. LGBTQ plus main character, 4% of my books, 39.5% it was present, and 56% absent. So again, some of those are the nonfiction books from the 17 and 1800s where it wasn't really written about at that time. So that's where some of those came from. All right, so I think that is about it for my stats. I already went through my least favorite and my most favorite books, so you can check that out. I will leave that linked in the cards above. I look forward to chatting with you again. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to hear more from me, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!